So Chris, first question I have for you is, how did you even get into the insurance industry?
You want me to be truthful?
Yes, I do.
Well, I'm a retired banker. Did that career for a little over 30 years. My wife and I moved out here, and she told me to go back to work because I didn't cook well, couldn't clean. But anyway, so I was trying to figure out what to do with my time. Retired is fun, but it gets boring. I was missing the interaction of people and stuff. And I had some buddies back home that had left banking and got into insurance, and they were like, you should try this. It is quite interesting. It's the financial aspect, but it's more of the risk management portion, which I always enjoyed in lending. And that's kind of how I made the jump and made the switch into it. Started with American Family First, worked with an agent, had to get my feet wet. And then when he retired, went into the independent world.
Really? So it was a referral that actually got you into the insurance industry?
Yeah.
How many years have you been in the insurance industry since you started?
I have been in a total of 7 years.
7 years.
Yeah.
And then at what point in those 7 years did you become the food truck guy?
Well, I started with ICA February of 2020. And 6 weeks later, the world shut down. COVID hit. Everybody went home. And so I was trying to figure out in this business, coming from a captive to an independent agent, how to figure out how to write policies, how to understand policies. There's different languages amongst each company. And then was trying to figure out how to meet business owners. As I was driving around, I noticed that everybody that was shut down, I couldn't talk to them, but there were food trucks that were out there. So I started stopping by the food trucks and found out that the vendors were the business owners. And so from there, started developing relationships with them. Actually sponsored some of the food truck rallies that they had through some cash stuff that I gave away for food. And from there gained, I guess, the confidence from the food truck owners to actually talk to me, the respect from them that I just wasn't there for no reason. And from there started a couple of, well, even up till now, an affair with the food truck vendors of I'm the guy that they called for the longest time, asked questions about coverages, and started writing several food trucks at one time. Well, I can't remember. I think we had about 15-20% of the food truck market just from talking with these guys and taking care of them.
Something that you pointed out that I think is so powerful for existing insurance professionals and people that are considering a career in insurance is how intentional you are about building relationships with people and how you play with them. Like you're talking about these events that you put on and, you know, being in person, having these types of conversations, showing them that they're more than just a dollar amount to you. You want to earn their trust. So tell me, Chris, what techniques, speaking of trust and conversations that you're having with these people, what techniques have you used that have been crucial to your success?
Well, and this goes back from my years as a banker. In the insurance industry, a lot of emphasis has been put on cold calling, closing the sale, and instant gratification. In the banking world, it is all about relationship building. And so I took that and brought that to the insurance side, where you are actually gaining the trust of a potential client. You're really not looking for anything. You're just trying to learn their story. You're trying to learn what their pain points are, what their concerns are, and then wait for them to eventually reach out to you. Now with that, you know, you can't you can't just go talk to people and not do anything, or you're going to eventually, dry up, blow away, and die. But using that technique more so to break the ice and just talk to them, and eventually gain the confidence so that you can eventually make that sale. And I know with a lot of the food truck vendors, the thing I liked about them was when I came over to the independent side, I didn't fully understand how the independent side worked for writing policies and stuff. The beauty of the captives, they do everything kind of like a value meal. Everything's packaged together so that you can write that. On the independent side, everything is written a la carte, which means you have to understand the language of what you're trying to put in so that you can offer the correct coverage, and then take that with how many companies that we can offer. You have to know the language of each one. So anyway, the reason I started with the food trucks was it allowed me to do general liability, possibly get business auto, an umbrella, just some of the basic policies that go with a traditional business, and learn how to write those so that I could properly protect the food truck owners, but then gain knowledge myself as to how to go after bigger and better later on.
Wow, that's a great strategy because it's a win-win for both parties, right?
Mm-hmm.
You're making sure that they are absolutely fully taken care of. You already earned that trust, and you continue to earn that trust by building these policies a la carte, like what you were talking about. And you're growing your skills to get into commercial as well. I mean, that's...
Yeah, I had a food truck vendor, and this is when stuff really started catapulting, who their business income, loss of business income is an endorsement that can be added. A lot of people don't think of, don't fully understand. Well, I had a food truck vendor who had his truck at a dealership getting worked on. Truck was vandalized while it was at the dealership. So he was kind of in the proverbial rock and a hard place because he could not work because he needed his truck to be able to pull his trailer. And this was during COVID. So there was delays and stuff. His truck was going to be out for 6 weeks. He didn't know what he was going to do. Since I had put in the loss of business income endorsement on there, he was able to be reimbursed for lost income for those 6 weeks while he was waiting, aside from the fact that the truck was taken care of. And when he came back and started telling people about what had occurred, then the phone didn't stop ringing because people are like, do I have this type of coverage? What happens with this? So it's, again, it all comes back to understanding the business, putting proper coverages on, and then something happening where the coverages actually are in place and do what they're supposed to. You have a happy client, they tell people, and from there, things took off.
And then you've just got a bunch of referrals of people saying, I want to work with Chris too. What's all my coverage? How can I get bundles with a la carte?
Yeah, just because most business owners understand that this is their livelihood. And they understand risk management, but they also understand what their limits of what they can handle. And so as the insurance specialist or whatever, you have to be able to come in through conversations, asking lots of questions, trying to figure out what that is so that they in turn know what policies or what coverages they can afford to buy so that in the event something happens, they're not going to lose their business and their livelihood.
What has been your best prospecting tools? This doesn't just have to be tech. This can be your strategy as well.
Well, for me, the best thing is, social media is very important. I'm not a social media guy. I'm on social media, they tell me, but I don't use it. For me, the best thing is, as I tell people all the time, I like to shake hands and kiss babies. Mm-hmm. So I get out and I meet people, and I do that through networking, through referral groups. BNI is one of those networks that I use. And the beauty of that is you're actually putting yourself in place with business owners that are there, and you're able to interact with them on a weekly basis. It's also getting involved with Rotary, or for Lions, Kiwanis Club, stuff like that, where you're actually engaging yourself with actual business owners, where you can have conversation. I also enjoy a lot of the free, I guess they would be, networking groups, again, because you're putting yourself in place or in front of business owners. And a lot of them, when a commercial insurance agent walks in, they have questions, and they're just going to start asking all sorts of questions. And the goal is to answer their questions and leave it alone. I don't do anything from there. I'm not like, oh, let me, quote your policy or whatever. It's like, yeah, here's your question. I tell them, this is what you need to tell your agent what you need to do. 90% of the times is what happens. And later on, I'll get a phone call. Will you quote my policy? Because I called my agent and they're like, well, I don't know what that is or whatever. And the other thing is research. I spend a lot of time reading forms on policies and then researching the type of companies that I'm going after or that I'm talking to, so I have some knowledge with them. Real good example, I had a company that was a cleaning company that cleaned ORs and ERs in hospitals. The agent that was currently working with them didn't have a clue what he was doing and just had him as a janitorial policy.
Oh.
So all medical was excluded. And before I went and met with this individual, I researched the company. I got in contact with people that I know that are in the medical profession and asked them very pointed questions about what types of things do I need to know to ask this individual about how to disinfect and clean an OR and ER. So when he and I sat down and we started talking, I just started asking him questions in our conversation. And I remember him looking at me going, I have never talked to an agent who understood anything about what cleaning and what I do. Long story short, we have his accounts now. So.
And that is the second example that you've shared with us today alone about how intentional you are about understanding these people and establishing that trust. That's a huge deal. Knowledge is power, right? You make yourself more knowledgeable about the situation so you're equipped as the trusted advisor in these situations, as their insurance agent. I think that is so powerful because with a lot of content out there that, is typically absorbed by insurance agents, it's all about like, try to go hard and fast with as many accounts as you can, like smile and dial kind of situation. And it's just, hey, are you ready to rewrite your insurance policy? Do you want to do it with me today? And how your approach, and I think this is so important, especially since we live in a day and age where everything is done digitally. Not everything, because you do networking events in person and you meet with your clients in person. A lot of things are done digitally and a lot of things are done as quickly as possible because you want to convert the lead and run right onto the next one to make more money. But your success is so high because you don't just burn and turn through your leads. You get to know them and what their actual pain points are. I mean, that example alone, these people who are cleaning operatories at hospitals and ER rooms at hospitals, and you're saying, I don't know if this should be a janitorial policy. I think that there's more that we can offer them to benefit them. That's such a huge deal. How have our commercial lines managers at insurance centers helped you be successful?
You want me to be honest?
I want you to be honest.
Early on, they didn't do a damn thing. We all left. COVID hit, and I was here stuck with Tammy and Phil, and I think it was Charlene and Jim, and trying to figure stuff out. No, I'm now. I mean, the account managers are becoming more and more important as I'm writing more and more business. Jessica, for example, is probably been one of my main reasons why I'm so successful, because she has unfortunately gotten the bulk of my business,
which is a lot,
due to the way the alphabet's broken up amongst the account managers, and has been able to assist me in finding markets for some of these odd risks that I seem to encounter. I mean, Cheryl does a great job. Alicia's just started now and is starting to help and is doing very well. But probably this one who got me and did me the most was Samantha. Jessica and has got a lot of her book of business, but when I first started, Samantha was the one who was able to help me to decipher what exactly, as I was bringing, saying, okay, I've got all this stuff, where do I go with it? Because that's the biggest thing. Markets, carriers like certain markets, and Sam was the one who really was pivotable in helping me to place those in the correct markets. I'm kind of old school, and we used to laugh because she'd get frustrated because I wanted to do it all myself. I did it wrong. I got the business road, but then she came in the back end and kind of cleaned up all the sort of stuff. But yeah, I mean, the account manager's very important now with what I'm doing, because the accounts that I'm working on, the business that we're working on, there's just not enough hours in the day for any one person to be able to take care of all that.
Yeah, we do have an outstanding team. You've mentioned so many names there that have been pivotal to your success and supporting you and your clients. Is there one person that stands out from the crowd of our peers?
Well, if you're talking account managers, Jessica would definitely, and not only, it's kind of tough to say that because Jessica, Cheryl, Alicia, Sam, the thing that I like about them is that everybody understands no one is perfect. So we are constantly checking to make sure we've got coverages in place that the clients need or are supposed to have. So, I mean, that is very, very important to me. So, I mean, Jessica is very important. One person, if you want to move from where the account managers were, that was very important in getting some of the businesses kicked off and stuff, was TJ, who was on our personal line side. And TJ helped me with some of the HOAs and stuff when they first came on. She's an amazing personal lines agent, knows personal lines more than most people will ever know, and worked very closely with some of the boards and stuff, and came to me a couple times with some HOA associations that she was working, or that she knew, that contacted her and said, hey, we're having some major problems. Is there anybody in your office that can figure this out? She gave those to me and said, can you even figure this out? And lo and behold, I got lucky, and because of our markets and the help of Samantha.
Well, Chris, thank you so much for sharing a little bit about your story and your background. And I'm gonna put you on the spot here, because I know that there are insurance professionals who are just interested in knowing, because I mean, you are just endless with your book of business. Every week that we're in those leadership meetings, Chris and TJ have, this many more accounts. It's just like a flood, and everybody wants to be there, right? Everyone wants a flood of business coming their way. So what is one thing that you think is crucial for insurance professionals to build their business? Anything?
Well, one thing, and I don't know that there's just one thing. You have to have the certain personality. You have to be driven, and you have to understand this is not an easy industry to get into. There's ups and downs. I deal with it, but you have to be driven. And when I say that, you have to be a self-starter, because you have to do a lot of research. You have to put a lot of work in, so that when you are talking to these clients, you don't come across as some salesperson. You come across as somebody that knows and kind of understands their business. Everybody cannot know everything. I don't know everything. And there are a lot of times I defer questions when they come to me. If someone asks, it's like, I'll have to get back with you. You have to constantly be working. I always tell people I'm a farmer. I plant seeds all the time. I talk to people. We go on vacation and my wife's like, oh my gosh, will you shut up and quit talking to people? But in doing that, you never know who you're going to talk to and where your next referral or next question may come from that you've never even thought of.
So have you ever gotten anything from social media, even though you don't use it?
Yes and no. When I first started here, Adam King, who is in our marketing, IT department, whatever, was nice enough to set me up with a Facebook account.
Thanks, Adam.
Yep, I know how to spell it now. I occasionally access it. But what was interesting about that was, as we were filling stuff out, one thing I'd put down was that I do farm and ranch also. And from there were, I guess, things that showed up on the internet. And I got a call one day from somebody who was looking for farm and ranch type policy. And they have horses, and they do horseback riding and trails and stuff like that. Called them up, talked to them, found out it really wasn't farm and ranch, but it was more of outfitter type stuff and so on. Well, of course, doing my research and stuff, after I talked and found out, yes, we have markets, eventually was able to place the account with one of our carriers. And they were very happy because the carrier they were with was canceling them, was getting out. Their agent couldn't do anything.
Oh.
So I kept in touch with these people because they had told me, yeah, we're into some other businesses and stuff like that. Fast forward 2 years later, I get another phone call where they're having problems because their agent cannot find coverage for another portion of one of their businesses.
Oh, man.
And so as I'm talking with them, I find out that this business actually is, it's a massive equine risk. They have horses, their herd runs anywhere from 800 to 1,200. They own, I don't know, close to 100,000 acres of property. They've got about 8 or 9 ranches, camps and everything. So make a long story short, I was able to find a market through Lloyd's of London, which is a huge carrier that does all the risk stuff. And the type of business these people do, Lloyd's had never heard of it. So they had to create a class code to be able to provide insurance for them. And now I am taking over their whole business venture entity. They have, property here. They're in New Mexico. They're in Mexico. They're in South America. They provide horses for movie shoots, all sorts of things. And that all started from a internet post about Chris Viton does farm and ranch type policies that are difficult to insure.
What?
That's where that all came from. And this account, when it's all said and done, will probably be, I don't know, $300,000-$400,000 in written premium a year.
Oh my gosh. So what was this? Was this like you mentioned it was a post, but was it like a recommendation on Insurance Centers of America's site?
I have no clue.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. It's just, that's how they found me. Because I'm like, how did you find me? We found your name on the internet that you can do farm and ranch type risks that are difficult that other people can.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's all it took.
Yeah.
Is just seeing your name associated with the pain. See, and I know you were in marketing and banking too, so.
Yeah. Long time.
Many moons.